So, hello everyone. We are here meeting again for this free webinar with Ali Hassan, who's going to talk about the IB learner profile in an online context. Ali gave this event last week, and we had a very big number of participants. For a technical problem, we were not able to have everyone, so that's why we are repeating this event. Thanks, Ali, for your freedom and flexibility to be with us again via 4th Generation for Education. And thanks everyone who faced some problem last week and who decided to come back and to attend this session with us. Ali, if we can go to the second slide, where I'm going to give everyone a little bit of logistics.
Sure.
And I want to remind everyone, we are not able to see you, we are not able to hear you. But as you know, we will have plenty of activities where we are going to bring you in the room, this virtual room, and where you are going to interact with us. We are trying to offer very interactive session, and in those sessions, we are going to ask from you at different moments to answer questions, to write in the chat, to ask us questions in the question and answer section. So below your screen, you can see the question and answer. You can see the chat. Those are the areas where we are going to interact. So Ali, we have 32 participants, which is today a smaller group, which will lead to more interaction. We have people from India, from Turkey, from USA, from Muscat, from Saudi Arabia, from Lebanon. And so very soon also, we are going to ask you some questions to know more about you. So welcome. And I hope again that you are going to enjoy the session. Ali, it's for you. Let us know more about you and take us through this session, a very interactive session.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone, once again. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. You know, during working these times of working online, I think it's definitely very important that we continue the conversation for learning and teaching, and we continue to get involved in professional conversations and learning opportunities. It's an opportunity for growth and it's an opportunity for learning. So yeah, my name is Ali Hassan. I'm from the UK. I'm currently in Qatar right now. This is where I'm working from, my apartment. I'm currently the Director of Learning and Teaching at SEC International School, which is a group of Spanish schools. Our campus is, however, based in Qatar. I also carry out various roles for the International Baccalaureate, particularly for the PYP, MYP, and DP. And I absolutely love what I do. I love the IB. If you do know me, if you do speak to people who do know me, they'll tell you I absolutely love the IB in the same way Ali Ezzeddine does too. My email is there as well. It will also be shared at the end of the webinar as well. So if you are, I was actually born in a city called Liverpool. And if you are a fan of the Beatles, well, there you have it. I actually started my journey supporting adults and children with special needs. I then went on teaching in the primary, secondary, and at the college level in the UK. I made my move to the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, in Dubai back in 2013. And that was my very first IB World School, where I worked as a homeroom teacher in the PYP. Then I moved on to teach in the MYP and DP. Guess what? I still continue to work in these programs beautifully. And it's quite funny here, funny little story actually, because Ali Ezzeddine, he used to work at that school in Dubai. So when I moved over to Dubai, Ali had left and he went over to Qatar. So I was at that school for 3 years, and then I was thrown with the opportunity of working in a setup organization for a new school project over in Qatar. And some of my colleagues are actually here. Hello, Khalid. You'll know about the story as well. He'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it was such a fun project that I was involved in. And when I moved over to Qatar in 2016, Ali then moved back to Dubai, so I wasn't sure what was quite happening there. So this session, moving on to the guiding questions for this webinar, we're going to be looking at how the IB Learner Profile is used in your school for leadership, particularly for online leadership. What leadership actions or approaches do we need to take? What actions are the most important during these times in terms of the IB Learner Profile? And again, we're talking about what possible opportunities can arise. And most of all, what can be learnt. I want you to keep in mind that this webinar isn't just for those involved in IB schools. It's very much open to anyone involved in non-IB schools too. So that's enough about me. Let's know more about you. So I've taken two themes here. One is a PYP transdisciplinary theme. If you do work in the PYP, you will recognize it. It's called Who We Are. And from the MYP Global and the MYP Global Context, Identities and Relationships. So go ahead, Ali, over to you. Let's find out where our participants are from.
Yes, Ali, we're going to start with this survey and asking where are they from. But just to remind them, everyone who's typing in the chat, they need to choose all panelists and attendees so everyone can see the chat. So let me start with the questions. And we have 3 questions for you. The first one will be asking, where are you currently? The second one will be asking, what is your role? And the third one will be about the IB learner profile and which learner profile is the most important for you in this current situation. So let me know if you are seeing those questions and we can start answering them. So where are you now? Asia, North America, South America, Europe, Middle East, Australia, Africa. What is your role? Are you a teacher, coordinator? Are you a leadership member, or you play a different role, maybe a parent or something else? And which IB learner profile is the most important for you currently? So I'm going to give a few more seconds for the participants to fill the poll. And then I'm going to share the answers. Some people are also typing in the chat. And remember, Natalie, you need to choose all panelists and attendees. So for all that chat, make sure that you are choosing all panelists and attendees so everyone can read your answers. Numbers are still increasing and people are still answering our 3 questions. And I'm going to end the questionnaire now. And I'm going to share with you the results. So Ali, we have like the majority of our participants are in the Middle East, 36% are in Asia, we have 4% in Europe. Maybe the people in Europe, they can tell us in which country they are based now. You have 60% Ali, they are teachers, 20% they are coordinator, and then we have 16% they are leaders. And for them, the most important IB learner profile for the current situation is to be open-minded. 44% they said we would like to be, or we would like to exhibit the attribute of open-mindedness.
That's very interesting.
Yes,
we had that last week as well, didn't we?
Yes, we're ready to continue and to take the participant to the following question.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali, for that. Well, isn't that interesting? Because as I said, last week we did the very same thing where we launched a poll, and that was the IB Learner Profile attribute that had the most hits, being open-minded. Very interesting. So let's connect here. Since you now know how to use the chat box and how it works, we're going to play with that chat box again. So just tap in 1 or 2 words to describe an IB school leader. But wait a second, other than the IB learner profile attributes, because quite often we start going ahead with caring, thinker, being principled. For example, in terms of the learner profile attribute communicator, I would use the word transparent. You know, I believe in such times where teachers, students, and parents may be anxious and worried about the future unknown, it is crucial that we are transparent in our communication with any information that will help or reassure others. So with this transparency comes honesty. So go ahead and give it a go. Use the chat box and type in 1 or 2 words to describe an IB school leader.
Other than the IB learner profile. So I'm waiting for some answers, Ali, to share them with you. And let's see how they are going to describe the school leader.
Keep
So
in mind what is
flexible.
expected.
So flexible, a great listener, honest, another again, flexible, another time, genuine, lifelong learner, proactive.
Yeah, that's definitely, I can see this, integrity.
Mentor, again, flexible, involved in all the aspects of the institution, not just the education. He's approachable. And remember, please, while you are typing the chat, choose all panelists and attendees. There is a drop-down menu where you can choose to communicate with everyone. We have collaborator. He knows about technology. He's a human being, a developer, good listener. He has a sense
I
of
love
humor.
that.
Yeah, the sense of humor. We were talking about it, Ali, before the live. Yes, he's humble, compassionate. Hello, hello, Ala. Nice to see you here. Maha,
Hi,
she said
Ala.
creative. And yeah, so we have plenty of words, Ali. So
Yeah.
the word flexible came a lot. And now we have from Natasha that he has a growth mindset and not just a fixed mindset.
Yeah, and we see a lot of this through these social media outlets. When we look at LinkedIn, we look at some of these Facebook groups. We see some of these posts online that talk about being open-minded, having a growth mindset, and we constantly also think about what does that mean? Creating a culture for open-mindedness, creating a culture for collaboration. Thank you once again for sharing. Okay. So right here, I have the IB mission statement. For those who do work in IB schools, whether those schools are authorized or candidate schools, you'll recognize the mission statement quite well. So I'm not going to read it. For those who don't, the IB mission statement, it's a philosophy. It's a philosophical statement for learning, teaching, and let's say a sense of culture. All IB schools, in fact, align themselves to the IB mission statement. Usually you'll see whether a school's own mission and vision is aligned with the IB mission statement. The mission statement is an agreement, and like I said earlier, a philosophy towards educational beliefs, values, and practices that represent and support the IB programs and the IB learner profile. Now, this involves learning and teaching practices, leadership practices, and nurturing a school culture that mirrors the mission statement in action. Now, this is the key word here. Action. Pause and reflect. Now we're going to head back again to the chat box feature. We want you to just speak out your thoughts here through tapping into the chat box, particularly on how the IB mission statements should be reflected in our leadership actions and approaches for online school leadership. So we're going to type in how the IB mission statement should be reflected, once again, in our leadership actions and approaches for online school leadership. To help you, I will flip back and have the IB missions there just to help you.
So we have some leaders in the participants. So what action you have made during the last 2 months, and now we still have maybe 1 month if you are still teaching till end of June, in the context of the online learning and based on the IB mission statement. So let's check what are the actions, and I'm waiting for the chat to start coming and sharing with you, Ali. So this is a nice action from Rana. Be visible online with the team and with the students.
Beautiful.
Listen to the teachers from Babita. What action you have done, and then if you are teachers, what are the action that your leadership team have done during this period of time?
I keep seeing listeners, being a good listener. It's such an underrated skill, isn't it?
Giving proper feedback. And given flexibility in the program, so maybe the program was revised, make a personal connection with the parent community, make sure that they're feeling, they are not very anxious. Yes, Yolanda.
I've seen Natalie write down being flexible with students. I totally agree. I think the same approach can be applied from a leadership perspective too, being flexible with our team, given the current circumstances.
Structure things so it's easier on student and parents and teachers. Give in a simple language, regular meeting and follow up. This is a very important one, flexible approach in assessment.
Yeah.
Keep a focus on the well-being of the team.
And now that's a big topic right now. People
Yeah.
are constantly, everyone's talking about this idea of well-being, the importance of looking after each other. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you once again for sharing. So moving on right here. So what does the research say in this regard? Now, there's great research out there in terms of leadership in IB and non-IB schools. Now, for IB schools, the development of an ethos, or let's say a school culture, relates to the mission statement and the IB learner profile. Now, that's the backbone for every IB school, both the mission statement and the IB learner profile. Now, this is what it means when we talk about the development of a particular ethos that resonates with the IB. Of course, doesn't the IB just offer that with its mission statement? That's what the IB offers. Something to think about. Are schools and leaders truly reflective and representative of the mission statement and learner profile in action? Something to actually think about here. Leadership that mirrors the IB philosophy and learner profile is crucial from our leaders, whether they are the head of school, the coordinator, subject leader, school counselor, and the teachers. We are the leaders. Why? Because we are technically running the school. I think that's a notion that's also quite underrated, where we kind of forget about the teachers when essentially teachers are running the schools. It is rather interesting when we talk about the buy-in towards the mission statement and learner profile and how that is reflected in our actions and approaches as leaders. It's a way of promoting the mission statement and learner profile. Once again, something else to think about here. Again, when we say belief and support of the IB philosophy, what do we actually mean here? Do we mean our leadership approaches, our actions, our personal approaches? How about our interpersonal and communication skills? What about social and emotional intelligence? Now, this is my favorite. Now, this part is almost like a cake. And in that cake, we have 3 ingredients. Something that I like to call the 3 C's: context, culture, and collaboration. We have to be very careful here when we look at research and when we look at leadership approaches and actions. I remember reading somewhere that said, just because you think it is the best, it doesn't mean it will work with the rest. Why is that? Well, we must consider the 3 C's: context, culture, collaboration. We mentioned leadership practices that impact student and organizational outcomes. This also means leadership practices or approaches that perhaps influence others around you positively and productively. Each school may have its own internal and external influencing factors, usually context cultural factors and norms that may require us to adapt and lead with these factors in mind. When we say context, we think about where we are in place and time, the environment, the country, the type of school we're working in, the people, the culture, and perhaps how it's run. What is culturally acceptable and what is not? These are things that come into mind. Now, when we think about particular actions, we're going to look at commonalities. And some of these commonalities can transcend or go above and beyond context, culture, or collaboration. And those commonalities are right here. They involve us to set directions, build relationships and develop people, develop the organization to support desired practices. What are those desired practices for IB schools? Practices that involve inquiry-based learning, conceptual understanding, project-based learning. How about improving the instructional program? What is the instructional program in our IB schools? Now, when we look at these 4 aspects, these are aspects which are perhaps transferable in each school environment, context, or culture. Finally, the last C, collaboration. Don't lead alone or be controlling. Something I once heard, don't be Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all. Don't allow your ego to get in your way. Why? Because we simply don't know it all. Collaborate. We are much better and stronger together through collaborative leadership. One of my IB colleagues, just a quick short story here, she's a trainer and consultant. Her name is Caltha. She's from Jordan. In fact, she's an author for one of the diploma, in fact, 2 diploma program English B course books. Ali will know her very well too. She once said to me and others during a IB educators training session back in 2017 in the UK, in Coventry. She said, don't allow your own personal professional experiences cloud your judgments. It's funny because for me that meant viewing and leading with an open mind. That notion is rather applicable here when we say that we must consider context. Okay, so moving on to you. We're going to move on to our group leadership activity. Now, don't run away anywhere, don't move, because me and Ali are going to share the initial activity that was planned, and it's a synchronous activity. Now, what we had in mind was having these wonderful breakout rooms. So people go into these breakout rooms, you'd be assigned to one IB learner profile per group, and you would decide on team leader, and you basically type into this Google Doc. However, we're not going to be doing that. We are going to be modeling both synchronous and asynchronous learning and teaching. Now, asynchronous is where students interact with a live facilitator or with other students. Asynchronous is where students learn independently and potentially in isolation, right? This is what's happening right now in the given circumstances. So here's what the task looks like. You will have received a link from 4 Generations, and the link, if you haven't, you can take tiny.cc/IBLP. Don't go anywhere yet. So this is what we are going to do. Choose either 1 or 2 learner profile attributes, and you're going to list the possible responsibilities as leaders for online school leadership. You can write in details if you wish, and we're going to have about 5 to 8 minutes. I'm going to show you a quick example before Ali helps me invite some panelists to join us with this activity. So here are some examples. I chose 3 attributes here: knowledgeable, communicators, and principled. I'm not going to read everything, but just going to quickly touch on it. So I chose knowledgeable because I thought that as leaders, it's really important that we keep up to date. Whether we're working online or face-to-face, we have to keep up to date what's happening globally, locally, in terms of the World Health Organization, the health authorities, so we can provide accurate information to our colleagues, our students, and our parents. And it's also important for us to, get to grips with technology, to keep in sync and be involved in ongoing professional learning, because that's going to help us. And most of all, something that I said earlier, learning just doesn't stop. Second one, going on to communicators. Now, this is more so about keeping each other informed, communication through transparency and sensitivity. And that involves both spoken and written communication that models calmness and empathy. And finally, principled. This is about truly asking yourself about your own approaches and whether we are doing the right thing in the moment or in the best interest of others in our care as leaders. It's about being humble and openly humble and accepting that we aren't above everyone else, but rather of a collective family, or what we call a leadership team. So please go ahead, access the Google link and tap into it. Ali.
Yes, so let's put some action in this webinar. I shared in the chat the link, and the link also was shared in the email that they got 1 hour ago. And we are going to share also this link and the link of the resources after the webinar, with also the evaluation form and the recording of the session. So now you are, Ali, if you can open the link for us so they can also see where they are going.
Sure.
I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers. You can raise your hand, and if you are able to open your camera and to open your microphone, we would like you to join us in the meeting and do the activity in a synchronous way with us. So that's why we are modeling 2 activities. If you are not able to join, you have the link. You are going to do it by yourself. If you are able to join, raise your hand. And I have the first volunteer, Zainab. So Zainab, you are going to open your mic and you are going to open your camera. I need 2 more volunteers to join us who would like to join and be active in our session. So
I can see people tapping already into that Google Doc.
Yes, so
Fire
they
away.
have the link. Those are the asynchronous. Hello, Zainab. So we are able to see you now. Let me check. And we are able to hear you as well.
Great,
2 more volunteers who would like to join us from the participants.
Hello, Zainab. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
I can hear you loud and clear. We're just waiting for the other panelists.
Yes, so Saja is interested also in joining us. Welcome, Saja. And you need to open your cam and your microphone. Hello, Saja. And then maybe if we still have 1 more volunteer who would like to join us for this activity, please feel free to raise your hand so I can promote you to a panelist. So yes.
Any more risk takers? Oh,
yes,
we have
need the
Sangeeta.
risk takers. So Sangeeta.
We can't type yet, right?
You are not going to type, you are going to discuss with Ali. Okay, so we are modeling a synchronous activity with Ali and everyone else, because we cannot get everyone to be with us live. They are doing it in asynchronous way. So we are modeling 2 types of the work. So Ali, I'm going to leave you with Zainab, Saja, Sangeeta. They will open their camera, their microphone, and then you can lead the discussion with them.
Correct. So we are going to be working through a synchronous mode. And like I said earlier, that's where students interact with a live facilitator and or with other students. And the rest, all our other wonderful participants, you'll be working through a asynchronous mode where students learn independently and potentially in isolation. And like as you're doing now, you're working on Google Doc. So thank you once again for joining us, Zainab, Saja, and everyone else who's on our panelists. So you can see the Google Doc. Let's choose an IB Learner profile attribute that we can focus on live, and then we can write down some possible actions and expectations for leadership. Which one do you think we should take, Zainab?
Let's take communicators.
Okay, yeah, we can take communicators. I think we did that last week as well, didn't we, Ali? Okay,
yeah, so I had already started typing in communicators.
You did? That's Sangeeta, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's Sangeeta.
Thank you. So what are your thoughts, Sangeeta?
Sorry, would you please repeat?
Yes, what are your thoughts for the learner profile attributes, Sangeeta, for communicators? What are the what do you think the expectations are for this attribute?
Yes, so I had just started typing and I said that for us to be a good communicators, it's very important to be a great listener. I think that's the foremost important trait of a leader, that one has to be a great listener. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that the others would like to share, Zainab?
Okay, as actions to have maybe individual meetings. Sometimes, you know, when we're physically on campus, we have these discussions, sometimes oral discussions and verbal. So now we don't have the chance to do that, especially that it's structured in classrooms and online
Right.
studying sessions. So we might schedule these individual online Zoom meetings for 10-15 minutes to have these, you know, follow-ups. For example,
Yeah.
within my responsibilities to follow up on discipline issues and the well-being of the students. So we can have these, we can still have these meetings, even online.
Yeah, so those regular meetings are important. And as you were saying that, Zainab, something else came to my mind in relation to that. I was also thinking, I just typed in there, keep time in mind for meetings, because when we have these meetings online, we're spending a lot of time in front of the screen. For example, are we going to use the same meeting times? You know, I know some schools, for example, you have a schedule. Some of these meetings might be 1 hour. They might be, do we want to replicate the same time for those meetings online? You know, perhaps those meetings can be 30 minutes. They can be 40 minutes with a clear agenda. So yes, that's very important, having regular meetings and perhaps keeping time in mind. Anyone else from our panelist team who would like to add? Feel free to add to the conversation and turn on your mic.
So Saja opened her mic. Let's hear from Saja if she's ready to share. And if someone else would like to join us from the attendees, you can raise your hand and then I will bring you so you can discuss with us. Saja, are you able to hear us?
No?
No, so.
Okay. Anything from you, Ali? What do you
Anything from
think?
me? I see that the one, if you go a little bit in your document, Ali,
Yes.
people go up. People, they filled caring, open-minded, principal, communicator, knowledgeable, inquirer, and then they left thinker empty. Someone is typing in it, and I can see another attendee is interested in joining us. So let's welcome Rihanna. And I wanted to say that thinker is a very important one because we are doing now plenty of actions on the spot and we need to step back to think about our action. So what is allowed currently, the mistakes that they are allowed currently, maybe they are not allowed at the beginning of the new academic year. So now parents, students, other teachers, they can tolerate this because it's new for everyone. It's those unstable moments. But if we are strong leaders and we have this vision connected also to the vision of the school and the vision of the IB, we need to put some clear plan, think about a plan A, a plan B, and so the thinking skill is very important. So that's why I wanted to connect to the thinker point. Rihanna, you ready to open your mic and maybe join us in the discussion? And Ali, maybe while Rihanna is opening her mic, you can go down and tell us about the second page of the document.
So
yes, Ali.
Yeah, Rihanna, give us
sorry.
1 second.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt.
Yes.
I wanted to just quickly share. If you all scroll down to the very last page of the document, you will see, what you will find is an example from the old diploma guide, the old IB diploma guide, 2019. And what it is, it's an example of a learner profile for school leaders. Very interesting because it's no longer in the new guide anymore. And the reason for that probably may be because the IB does want schools to create their own IB learner profile for school leadership, for teaching and learning, and for students. And feel free to use this and to look at this. And the whole idea behind using the IB learner profile is to essentially create your own agreement for school leadership. Isn't that beautiful? Something that you can use in your own school that's based on your own culture, your own context, and the needs of your school environment. Yes, Rihanna. Is it Rihanna?
Rihanna,
Yeah,
yeah.
Rihanna. Yeah.
Rihanna. Hello, Rihanna.
Hi, how are you?
Very good.
For me, the IB profile is very interesting and one of my sort of interest areas. And I sort of look at reflective in my own practices, though I'm not in an IB context. So in reflection, I always want to understand in my own teaching context whether there are biases that are underpinning or undermining my own effectiveness as a teacher, as well as if there are motivators that I might not be tapping into that could eventually improve the overall performance, progression, and attainment of my students. So it's a brilliant structure, and I am very, very, very in tune into the whole IP profile and the techniques of the leadership to implement the IB profile in their context. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Rihanna.
sharing that.
Ali, we have
Yeah.
Paulo. Paulo is interested as well in joining us. So, Paulo, if you don't
Sure.
mind opening your mic and maybe your camera, and then we are ready to hear you. Some people, maybe Sanjita, she said that the Google Doc, maybe she's not able to type in it. Sometimes it will freeze because we are a very big number of participants.
You might have to refresh, just click refresh.
But remember, you are going to get this document after the webinar, so you can duplicate it and then use it with your team and do the same activity with your teacher and the leadership team. So we wanted to model the two activities, the asynchronous one, where we can still see people typing in the balance, and the synchronous one where we are inviting you. So Paulo, yes, open your open your microphone, and we are ready to hear from you.
Before Paolo joins us, I just want to build on something that Rihanna mentioned earlier in terms of the beauty of the IB Learner profile. Quite often, schools will use the IB Learner profile, something that's used by teachers in their classrooms, something that's on the wall that looks beautiful, or online on ManageBack. However, it can be used very, very significantly in terms of leadership. It's something that needs to be used to develop culture and practices school-wide. It has to be a whole school collaborative initiative to make it work. If you don't believe in it, it falls apart.
Okay, yes. Paulo, we're ready to hear you. Your mic is open. So what are your ideas about the IB Learner profile in an online context? Paulo.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
It's Paul.
Hello.
Yes,
hello, we can hear you. Yay.
Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Now it looks like we have some connectivity issues. Okay, yeah, it seems like we have some connectivity issues there. Now, we're going to continue. I can see that the Google Doc is getting populated very quickly, and you'll find that perhaps it might be freezing up. If that does happen, just refresh. I'm going to go ahead and read some of these attributes, I'll read some of these actions that have been put here. We'll have another hand.
Yes, let me see. Rana, I'm going to bring Rana to us, and then hopefully she will be able to talk and join us. So Rana, while you are connecting, yeah, Rana? Hello?
Hi, Ali.
Yes,
hello.
So we have the camera and we have the mic. Welcome, Rana.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Rana. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Ali. Thank you so much.
Nice and clear.
Yeah, great. How are you doing, Ali?
Good.
Very good.
Which Ali?
You are both Ali. You actually both visited our school, so we know both of you.
Okay.
I'm from Al Hayat International School. I'm the MYP coordinator. Ali visited us like a few months ago.
Yeah.
That's right. I did in fact visit Rana's school just a couple of months back over in Beirut. Wonderful school. I hope it's all going well.
Visit, Ali.
Yes,
Yes, so
yes.
what I wanted to share is the caring attribute learner profile. I think that during these rough times, we can detach ourselves from what's actually happening with our team in their homes, their financial situations, all the frustrations. So showing some care, being compassionate and understanding to all the challenges that our team is passing through is one of the most important learner profile attributes that a leader should have.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Again, you know, if we look at each and every attribute, they can be so underrated. You know, when we say caring, Rana, we always look at, okay, so what does that mean? What does it look like in action, right? And I think those are things that come into mind. And this is why it's so important to do an activity like this within our leadership team so we can truly define, okay, so we know what caring means, but what does it really, really mean in action? What does it look like in our school environment? Thank you for sharing, Rana. I hope this is something that you can take away and use with your leadership team. That's something that you could use within your department and even with your students, right?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, so thanks for our risk takers who joined our panel. You can be now muted, and then if you want to close your cam, you can close your cam. Ali will start wrapping up the session. If anyone has a question, feel free to type your question also in the question and answer, so we can read those questions and try to answer them at the end, before the end of the webinar.
So I'm going to wrap it up here. So I'm going to pick one or two. Let's go with, let's say, principle. Model appropriate behavior, attitude, and practices. Completely agree. Keep a close eye on the school's goals and objectives. And you know, we are using this IB Learner profile again as a mechanism for school leadership, particularly online school leadership. So I do like that. Ensure you are following the school guidelines. And again, doing the right thing, doing what is right for the people in our care, not just the students, but also the people that we are working with. Caring seems to be very popular here. I can see taking into account the various home situations, very important. I'm going to just stop right there. Yes, we must take into account what's happening in people's homes, because a lot of time we don't. We may think we may know what's happening in our students' homes, in our colleagues' homes. We don't. You know, I'm going to bring it back to myself here. You know, I've had some deaths in my own family with some relatives, like extended family, and they actually, you know, passed away as a result of COVID-19. And that's something, you know, that I didn't really share openly, but, you know, it's there. When I look at some colleagues, when we look at each other, we don't know what's happening in people's homes. Let's look at our students, for example. They're working at home. What's happening at home? Is mom and dad doing okay? Has mom and dad lost their jobs? Are they on a pay cut? You know, we don't know what challenges they are facing at home. So I think that's really important. Take into account the various home situations. I'm going to choose one more. Let's go with reflective. It says keep taking stock and assessing the steps taken by you as a leadership team. Very much important. Having a look at what we are doing. You know, going back, perhaps action planning. If you base these decisions on the best interest of your stakeholders, you will evolve positively. Thank you. That's a nice note to finish on. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to share back to our slides. So just bear with me for a moment, please.
So this is an interesting summary from the activity, and again we hope that you are going to take it back to your teams. What do we have next, Ali?
All right, so moving on. So here again we're going to just very quickly pause and reflect. Just use once again the chat box feature to share your thoughts and reflections. This is what we're going to do. So as leaders of online learning, what will you stop? What will you continue? What will you start? Keep these 3 points in mind. If you want, you can just focus on one. What will you stop? Or perhaps what will you continue? go ahead and share in the chat box.
And I'm going to share with you some of the ideas. And we are all leaders, even if we have the majority, they are teachers. You are also a leader in your classroom. So what are you going to stop after this session? What are you going to continue, or what are you going to start? We are waiting for your answers in the chat box. You can answer the 3 questions, or you can just choose one and share it with us. So keep calm and stay principled. This is from, yeah.
Funda. Thank you, Funda, for sharing.
I'm waiting for a stop to come. I had the first bit of the sentence from Ahmed or Gulfam Ahmed. Okay, so stop negativity. Yeah,
hands up to that.
There is plenty of stress outside, so maybe we need to stop this. This is a nice one. Continue to listen to the parent and the student community. Thanks, Yolanda, for sharing that. Continue to promote positive, stop the pressure, continue to be caring.
Yeah, truly look after yourselves, really look after each other, you know. I love the fact that someone put there, stop the negativity. Every time when I open my phone, I open up Facebook or I open BBC News or the local news, it's so negative. It is so negative. And is it really helping us? What can we look at? This webinar is, I feel like it's positive itself, because I love the fact we are all here together to learn. We are here together to grow.
Good, Ali, let me give you some of those chats. So they said, continue to be open-minded, start thinking of the plans of next academic year. Yes, Tana, if the situation will continue, this is a good moment also to start thinking about the plan Bs, how we are going to do maybe a blended model with face-to-face and online, what should go online, what should stay in the face-to-face. I will continue to believe in rigor, stop gossiping, and maybe take care of my health and the health of the children. Continue doing that.
Yeah.
Good, so plenty of nice decision. Any question for us? If anyone would like to ask us a question, we're happy to answer it before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Maya is saying be more creative.
I want to just quickly add here, as you are still, please feel free to go ahead and still tap away to the chat box. I'm just sharing some sources, further reading and resources, particularly sources that were used for this webinar. You can find these articles online, and what we have done, we have created a resources link which was emailed out to you. If you don't have that link, you can tap in tiny.cc/IBLP resources. You will also find a blank version of the IB Learner profile, which is something that you can use. Go ahead, shine with it. Go and use it in your leadership teams, in your departments. Like I said earlier, you can even use it with your students. It's something that can be used so beautifully to create an essential agreement for what online leadership looks like.
Okay, Ali, I have a question for you. I would like to hear from you regarding next year. What are your expectations? Any advice you could give us?
Okay, so I can bring it back to my own context in our own school environment, and also based on conversations with colleagues, staff, friends as well working in other countries. I know that many schools are strategically planning ahead. They're keeping the health and social, emotional in mind. So they're having to plan ahead. Now, in regards to, if we're talking about in specifics, let's say going back to school in August or September, this is going to look different from each country to country, from each school to school. So that really depends on, your context and environment. But something to perhaps think about is, if we are going back to school, are we just going to pick up and continue where we left from? Or have we actually learned something from these circumstances? What are we going to, it goes back to that reflective activity, doesn't it, Ali? Yeah. What will I do? What are we going to do? What can be learned from this kind of situation? Are we going to focus on perhaps, a good friend of mine who's from Spain, he shared some research with me. I don't know if it was research, it was a news report about how many cases, possible cases there will be in terms of health and well-being, mental health in particular, as a result of the circumstances we're in. So that makes me personally think, perhaps I need to look after my own health, the people who I'm working with, our students. I hope that answers your question.
And to invite Dana to our upcoming sessions, because we are going to have some webinars about the future of education. Ali will be one of those leaders who's going to lead one of the sessions. He will be doing it in English. I'm going to do it in Arabic. So wait for our updates and for our information about what's next and what is coming in the free webinars that we are offering. Thanks, Dana. You're most welcome. We had I have another question, Ali. So
yes.
Maha is asking, if we return back to school in September, we need to revise the content or go ahead?
Very interesting. I mean, right now, many schools are revising their content as they go along now, based on the current circumstances. I'm seeing many schools revising their POIs. They're having a look at those units, aren't they? Looking at what can students engage in more based on their circumstances if they're working from home. Now, yes, again, that's definitely an important, point to talk about with your leadership teams or with your planning groups as teachers. What can be revised to help our students? We don't know what circumstances many of our students are going to be in. Some students may be fine. Some students may not be fine. They might need a lot of time to adapt, Again, I keep reading a lot about focusing on the mental health, the well-being, and the social aspect, just getting our students back into perhaps a positive routine that's focused on their well-being and your well-being too.
I would say in September, if we are face-to-face or even if we are online, take a moment to express the emotion, to talk about what we have learned from this lockdown and from this situation. And after that, do your prior assessment, and based on that, you can reflect on what are the priorities. And if you are Maha in a PYP school, you know that we are teaching concepts, we are teaching ATLs, and those are universal, they are timeless, and the student, they are going to see them for the next 5 years, for example, if they are in grade 1, or they are going to see them for the next 3 years if they are in grade 3. So our big elements in the PYP, they are still the same. Yes, maybe they missed something related to the content, but it's fine. We are not preparing them to be encyclopedias. We are preparing them to be thinkers and leaders.
The same would apply even for the MYP as well. What we do, we have years, we do focus on concepts. We do look at global context. So you may want to look at revisiting and revising the written curriculum as well. Same with a DP, a big focus on skills.
Kamal is saying that as school leaders, we need to start thinking about a blended learning model where this will be the new norm and this will be the future of the schools. Thank you, Kamal, for your feedback. If anyone still has a question, feel free to type it. What do we have, Ali, next? You are going to get the link of the resources, and you already got it. So in the email, we sent you the link of the Google activity and the folder for the resources, but we are going also to send them again. So this is the slide of 4th Generation for Education, where you are going, Natasha and everyone, to see all the updates. On YouTube channel, we are posting all the recording of the webinars. On Facebook page, we are putting all the links to register for the upcoming webinars. We have 13 webinars scheduled, starting from next Friday, 29th of May. Different topics for early years, for Arabic teachers, for health and well-being, agency, assessment. So stay connected. A lot of ideas will be shared in a very dynamic, interactive way. We hope that you enjoyed the session today. I'm seeing all your thanks in the chat. Ali, any final words from your side?
Just final words. I want to say a big thank you Gracias, shukran to everyone and 4 Generations for inviting me once again for the second time to lead this webinar. You know, it really has been a pleasure, and this means so much to me, just to be able to share, and connect with you, ladies and gents, because we are all educators and we are all in the same boat, in the sense we are here to learn. And this is what we can do in such times, to continue to learn, think about what can be learned, and to remain positive and move forward. And, you know, please check out 4generationsfored.com, follow them on Facebook, LinkedIn, and check out all of the upcoming online sessions and get yourself registered.
Good. Next Friday, it's a session in Arabic for all my Arabic speakers who are attending today. I'm doing a session on how to express your emotion in the language class, and I'm going to give activities for oral communication, written communication in a very interactive way. So I'm waiting also to see you. Thank you, Ali. I'm going to wrap it up here. And
thank you so much, everyone.
We stay in touch. Bye-bye. Bye.